Most people have never heard the name Audie Murphy, but on a frozen January morning in 1945, this 19-year-old kid from Texas did something so insane that even his own commanders couldn't believe it when they heard the reports. Picture this: one man standing on top of a burning tank loaded with explosives, holding off 250 enemy soldiers and 6 tank destroyers for over an hour, and he was already wounded. This isn't Hollywood fiction. This actually happened. And the craziest part? This was just another Tuesday for Audie Murphy. Let's rewind to understand how someone ends up in that situation. Audie was born dirt poor in rural Texas in 1925. We're talking about a family so broke that hunger was a constant companion. When he tried to enlist after Pearl Harbor, the Marines rejected him. Too short, too skinny, too young. The kid was barely 5'4" and weighed 112 pounds soaking wet. He looked like a strong wind could snap him in half. But Audie was determined, and eventually the Army took him. His fellow soldiers nicknamed him Baby because of his boyish face. They had no idea what this baby could do. By the time Audie landed in North Africa in February 1943, he was just 17 years old. Most teenagers were worried about prom dates and basketball games. Audie was learning how to kill. He was damn good at it. His superiors immediately noticed something different about this quiet kid from Texas. He was a natural marksman, the kind of shooter who could pick off targets other men couldn't even see. But more than that, he had this weird calmness under fire that veterans twice his age didn't possess. When bullets started flying, most men froze or panicked. Audie just got to work. Sicily was where things got real. During the invasion, his platoon got pinned down by a German machine gun nest. Everyone was stuck, unable to move forward or back. Audie just stood up and charged it, alone. He killed the crew and knocked out the physicians single-handedly. His commanding officer put him in for a promotion on the spot. This became Audie's signature move throughout the war. See a problem? Run straight at it and solve it with bullets. By December 1943, he was fighting in the Anzio beachhead where he destroyed a German tank and drove back an entire enemy attack by himself. The Army gave him the Bronze Star. Audie barely acknowledged it. Here's where it gets darker. Audie refused to leave the front lines, ever. He got malaria multiple times and wouldn't go to the hospital. Doctors literally had to drag him to aid stations. The moment he could walk, he discharged himself and headed back to his unit. This wasn't bravery anymore. This was something else, something broken. The war was changing him in ways he probably didn't even understand yet. But the killing continued. In August 1944, during the invasion of southern France, he killed 2 snipers and wiped out another machine gun nest completely alone. The Army awarded him the Distinguished Service Cross, one of the highest honors they could give. October 1944 was when things went completely off the rails. In 3 days, Audie earned 2 Silver Stars for fighting through multiple German ambushes and personally killing or capturing several dozen enemy soldiers. The Army decided this enlisted man needed to be an officer and gave him a battlefield commission, Lieutenant Murphy. He was 19 years old. Then, a German sniper shot him in the hip. The wound got infected with gangrene, a death sentence for most soldiers in that era. Audie spent months in the hospital, and then, against all medical advice, he discharged himself and went back to the front lines. His body was falling apart, but something in his mind wouldn't let him stop. By January 26, 1945, Audie was commanding Company B of the 15th Infantry Regiment. They'd been fighting nonstop to push the Germans out of France, and this company had been shredded, from over 100 men down to just 40. They were holding a position near a village called Holtzwar, right on the edge of some woods overlooking flat, snow-covered fields. Audie had set up his command post in a drainage ditch along the main road, armed with just his rifle, binoculars, a map, and a field telephone. 2 M10 tank destroyers provided their only real firepower. The ground was so frozen the men couldn't dig proper foxholes. They just stood there in the snow, trying not to let their feet freeze. Audie knew they were in trouble. He could feel it. At 2 p.m., the rumble of engines echoed from the village. Then 6 massive German tank destroyers rolled out of the mist, followed by 250 infantrymen in white winter camouflage. Artillery shells started exploding all around Company B's position. This was a full-scale counterattack, and Audie's tiny, exhausted company was directly in his path. He immediately called for his men to prepare to withdraw while he stayed on the radio calling in artillery strikes. Things went bad fast. A German shell slammed into the rear tank destroyer, killing the commander and gunner instantly. The survivors bailed out and ran. The second tank destroyer tried to reverse into the tree line, but slid into the ditch and got stuck at a useless angle. The crew abandoned it too. Company B was alone. Audie ordered his men to fall back to a more defensible position deeper in the woods, while he stayed at his exposed position, still calling in fire on the Germans. Hundreds of enemy soldiers were pouring across the field now, firing automatic weapons. Tank rounds were shattering tree branches around Audie's head. Most men would have ran. Audie put out his carbine and started shooting back. He brought all of his ammunition in minutes. The German tanks were getting closer, some within 50 yards of his position. That's when Audie made the decision that would either save his company or get him killed.
He ran to the abandoned, burning tank destroyer sitting in the middle of the field. This thing was loaded with ammunition and fuel, could explode at any second, and was the only target the Germans could actually see. Audie climbed on top of it and grabbed the .50 caliber machine gun. An artillery observer watching from the tree line later said it was the bravest thing he'd ever seen in combat. Audie was completely exposed, silhouetted against the snow and flames, with enemy fire coming from every direction. Tank rounds, machine guns, rifles, all focused on this one skinny kid standing on a bomb, and Audie just started mowing him down. For the next hour, Audie Murphy became something out of a nightmare. The .50 cal hammered away at the German infantry, killing and wounding dozens. Men who got too close died. The Germans tried to flank him twice. Both times, Audie spotted them through the smoke and cut them down at point-blank range. On one attempt, 12 Germans got within 10 yards before Audie swung the gun around and killed every single one of them. The radio operator back at headquarters heard Audie calmly calling in coordinates for artillery strikes while firing continuously. At one point, when asked how close the enemy was, Audie said, "Just hold the phone and I'll let you talk to one of the bastards." Then he called in artillery on his own position. The burning tank destroyer took multiple direct hits from German tanks, each one engulfing Audie in smoke and fire. Every time, observers in the tree line thought he was finally dead, and every time he'd emerge from the smoke and keep firing. Blood was streaming down his leg from an old wound that had reopened, soaking his uniform. He was standing on something that could vaporize him at any moment, surrounded by an entire German company trying to kill him, and he just wouldn't stop. The German attack stalled. They couldn't advance with this one psycho raining death on them from the middle of the battlefield. Infantry wouldn't move forward without armor support. Armor wouldn't advance without infantry clearing that machine gun. They were stuck. After more than an hour, Audie finally ran out of ammunition. He climbed down from the destroyer, still under heavy fire, and limped back to his company's position. Minutes later, the tank destroyer's ammunition exploded exactly where he'd been standing. Without saying a word, despite being wounded and bleeding, Audie reorganized his company and led them in a counterattack that drove the Germans back into the village. Only then did he allow medics to treat his wounds, and he still refused evacuation. One of his men later said there's only 1 in a million who'd be willing to stand on a burning vehicle loaded with explosives and hold off 250 enemies for an hour. Audie killed or wounded approximately 100 German soldiers that day by himself. The Medal of Honor came on June 2, 1945, presented near Salzburg, Austria. Audie Murphy, the kid who was too small for the Marines, became the most decorated American soldier of World War II. Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Silver Stars, Legion of Merit, 3 Purple Hearts, plus French and Belgian decorations. He was 20 years old. When reporters asked what he planned to do after the war, Audie just shrugged. He had no idea how to be a normal person anymore. Back in the States, Hollywood came calling. Audie starred in over 40 films, including playing himself in To Hell and Back in 1955. He became famous all over again, but the war never left him. He slept with a loaded pistol under his pillow every night for the rest of his life. He suffered from what we now call PTSD, back then just called being shell-shocked or crazy. Audie became addicted to sleeping pills and struggled with violent nightmares. He locked himself in motel rooms for weeks at a time. The baby-faced hero was drowning, and almost nobody knew it. Audie spent his later years advocating for veterans' mental health, trying to get the government to recognize and treat what the war had done to men's minds. He was more passionate about this than anything else, probably because he understood it firsthand. On Veterans Day in the 1950s, a reporter asked him about his most memorable day of the war. Audie didn't talk about the medals or the heroics. He talked about being on a train to the Riviera when he heard the announcement that the war in Europe was over. That was the day. Not the day he held off 250 Germans, not the day he received the Medal of Honor, just the day it finally stopped. On May 28, 1971, Audie Murphy boarded a small twin-engine plane in Atlanta heading for Virginia. The weather was bad. The plane crashed into a mountain in heavy fog, killing everyone. Audie was 45 years old. They buried him in Arlington National Cemetery with full military honors. On his earlier request, they left the gold lettering off his headstone, the special marking reserved for Medal of Honor recipients. Audie wanted to be remembered as just another soldier, no different from the thousands of men who never came home from those frozen fields in France. The kid who was too small to fight became the man too brave to die. Until finally, 26 years after the war ended, the war caught up with him anyway.